welcome Sandeep Nailwal to the Transak podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Just to kick off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started in the world of blockchain?
Yeah, so I'm Sandeep. I'm one of the co-founders at Polygon, and I am a computer science engineer, but I also have a management background. I started in crypto back in 2015 and 2016 starting, and
Yeah. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Sandeep, but Jose, if you're listening, is there a lot of background noise? Because I'm getting a lot of like kind of noise.
yeah, I am also hearing that. Like Sami, can you mute it? Can you try to mute it? Can you mute yourself?
Yeah. It's not. It's not.
Oh, no, Bluetooth is turned off. Like my Bluetooth is off. Now the noise is gone, right? Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
let me
Let's
start.
try again. By the way, am I pronouncing your last name
Yeah,
correctly?
it's okay. It's okay,
Nalwal.
bro. Nobody cares.
Okay. 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 Cool. Jose, is the sound fine now?
Yeah,
Just
for me it's
confirm before
good.
we. Okay. Okay. Great. So welcome Sandeep Nailwal to the Transact podcast series. I'd like to kick off by just you introduce yourself, how you got started in the world of blockchain, and tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm Sandeep. I'm one of the co-founders at Polygon. I started in crypto back in 2015 and to 2016, early 2016. And I am a computer science engineer by background, and I also have a management, you know, degree or background, whatever. At Polygon, my role is on the is to make sure that the Polygon ecosystem keeps growing, and Polygon, whatever tech we are building has a huge amount of adoption, and the vision of mass adoption for blockchain that we started Polygon with. My goal is to pursue that, as relentlessly and aggressively as possible.
Okay, great. And for those who don't know about Polygon already, can you tell us about what
Yeah,
is
so
Polygon?
Polygon is an Ethereum scaling platform. It basically allows, Ethereum blockchain, which has emerged as the most, decentralized, and like most reliable, smart contract platform. And in our mind, it is going to emerge as a global settlement layer. But obviously, if it is since it is very decentralized and very secured, it is inherently slow. So for in order for Web3 applications to be to be building on to be building in the Web3 space, you need scalability for the end users, and that is not available on Ethereum blockchain. That's not possible on any layer one for that matter. So what we are doing is we are building this multi-chain environment on the secondary layer or layer two, if you want to, to make sure that blockchains or Ethereum blockchain is able to achieve mass adoption. So that's the goal of Polygon, to provide a scalability platform, to provide the layer two blockchains, which have very low transaction fees and very fast throughput, so that applications can be built on these platforms while they are able to get the security and decentralization of Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, super interesting, and obviously solving a real pain point for mass adoption in the blockchain space. Uh, what I always love to hear is the founding story behind these kind of projects. So can you maybe tell us like how did this come about in the first place? How did the company come into existence, and what inspired you, the founders, to create this?
Yeah, so I mean, before Polygon, I think me and my other co-founder Jayanti both, were dabbling our hands at building DApps. I was building DApps as a consultant, and Jayanti was trying to build a prediction market for, let's say, Game of Thrones, right? And he realized that it was more of a hobby project for him, and he realized that he needed some sort of payment engine and which is available globally. So that attracted him to crypto. For me, and he clearly saw that those those payments and all that. Even though the promise of crypto is that seamless payments and smart contract, but even by that time, the then the crypto kitties movement had happened, and it was not very reliable. In my case, I got into crypto earlier and then earlier than Janti, but I was actually building some dApps and just doing some hands-on programming myself, before starting like my own, let's say, product venture. And it was very clear to me building those 4, 5, 10 dApps that the blockchains were not really ready for mass adoption. And then Jayanti started working on on this plasma research group, and he showed me that what he was looking to build, and it was like a no-brainer to me that this is an important problem to solve. And then we joined hands and we started the firm, and several years later we are here.
Yeah, so I always love to hear founding stories, but I particularly love to hear founding stories where the founders are solving a problem that they've experienced. I think a lot of the best companies happen when founders fall in love with a problem and try to solve it. And actually, you're not the first founder who I've heard who tried to start a like a Web3 application. Particularly, I've seen a lot of founders starting prediction market type applications, and then actually pivoting and solving like an infrastructure problem that enabled them to build that application. So it's super interesting. I think that now Polygon has come a long way since these early days, and it's now like becoming a very, very big company. So can you talk about some of the lessons you've learned about how to scale from an idea that kind of solves an initial problem and gets some initial adoption, and what are some of the lessons you've learned in scaling that into a very big organization?
I think like in our scenario, you know, I was like, we were very, very clear that, we wanted to build this platform, Web3 platform, which is actually used by the developers, right? So, the core vision and the core value was very clear that we want to build and we want to bring mass adoption to blockchain. So, right from the start, even when my tech team was building the product, I asked them to have a beta mainnet, alpha mainnet, before the final mainnet could come in. And I think you guys were already like, even before our mainnet was launched, we had like some 30 applications, which many blockchains, even layer one blockchains, won't even have after like multiple years of going live, right? So it was very clear in my mind that I want to go for more and more adoption on this chain, and that was the most important thing at that point in time. Like, I mean, generally when you are invested by, let's say, venture capitalists and things like that, right, VC firms and all that, they come with you with very high flying, like, this is what is the strategy, what is the 30-day, 90-day, 60-day plan and all that stuff, right? I'm not sure whether in that early stages that all is applicable to you, right? So you have one goal and you chase that goal very heavily, right? So I mean, in our scenario, since we did not have any VCs, it's not like we did not want to. We tried, but nobody invested in us at that point in time. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. But in the sense that nobody was there to to guide us, which actually is problematic also. Like, today now we have a strong VC backing, and we are getting that guidance. But at that point in time, it was very kind of a mad bull kind of chase for us, that okay, this is, we want to achieve adoption. It was very clear, the brief from my side to my business teams, and we had a very lean and mean team, that okay, this is like 6, 7, 10 people, and we want to be the most adopted blockchain in the world. What do we do? How do we backtrack from there and do our stuff? So keep it simple, I would say. Just in early stages of your startup, you want to achieve customers, you want to get customers, right? Like, and then go all out on that. Like, rest all of the things will fall in place. And one mistake that I did, I did was, maybe now in retrospect it's easy to say that, but I should have had more senior leadership guys with me. But probably at that point in time, it was difficult also to hire those people, right? Like now, the whole world wants to come and join us and work with us, but that time it was not that easy thing. But in the retrospect, it feels like it would have helped me personally, if I had had more leadership around me. Because right now, you guys also work very closely with me at times. Like, I am there in the groups, like responding if something goes wrong and all that, right? So, I'm very deeply involved in the operations, which, now I have to focus, because now the firm is very big. And then once it becomes very big, then you have to focus on all these, like, now we have 300 people, right? So you need to have those OKRs and KPIs and all that stuff. And then, your strategy in place for 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, and, then a 30, 60 day, 90-day plan and all that stuff. I generally don't enjoy that stuff, but, and you have this theory, or like, some one paper by, I think it's with Paul, it's from Paul Graham, like, wartime CEO, peacetime CEOs. I think I am more like a wartime guy. So this peacetime, like, I'm transitioning right now, in the peacetime, a bit of it, where like Polygon has achieved, like, I think we are the number one chain in terms of the adoption, by orders of magnitude. And for some time, like, I'm focusing on building the team and doing that. And then, once we have our ZK rollup solutions and everything out, then we go into the like real war zone, right? So I go back on the front lines. But in the meanwhile, I'm, like, as we are scaling, my job has become to, come back from the front lines and make sure that I have, capable generals on all the fronts, right? And then, once we are ready, maybe for the next round 2, we'll prepare for that. So yeah, that's my learning, that, first, at a startup stage, you should only be focused on customers. Rest everything, like, don't delay your customer go lives because you don't have enough people, you don't have enough processes. That will never happen, right? Just when you have the product out, just go out and start getting the customers. When the customers come in, money comes in. When money comes in, you can hire more people, you can hustle around and all that. I don't recommend startup founders to get too much into like planning, because you don't even know whether the product that you have built is actually going to be get used by the people, right? So why spend too much time in planning for, once your product is ready to go live and, do all that stuff. Like, just go all out war, get the customers. Once the customers are there, everything can be backward installed. But of course, like, once you get the customers, when you start seeing the scale, then you also need to be accepting of the fact that this has given you some success. I think that is what I am trying to do right now, that even though we have achieved this massive amount of success, but I am trying to be very, very open minded. And like, I think generally it's like something that is, I am also fairly satisfied with myself, that okay, I'm open to feedback. So be fairly open to feedback, because once you get success, then it can be very easy to get carried away, that no, like, my ways are working, this way has brought me here till now, and this will take me forward. No, you always get into these transition phases, the startups move from one kind of phase to another kind of phase, and each phase needs a separate kind of this thing. So as a leader, you need to also evolve. So be a wartime CEO when you are at a very early stage, then become a peacetime CEO when you create your army and all that, like set up everything and all that. And then I'm sorry, I'm giving these army kind of examples, might not suit well with or sit well with some people, but then once you have kind of created that kind of setup around you, then you are also ready, or you're all you should always be looking for the next stage of growth, because customer and growing the business is the first thing, and then everything, in my mind at least, falls in place. You just have to be open minded. Once you start getting success, just don't carry it away, everything else is fine.
Super interesting. So I'm hearing kind of relentless focus on customers. I'm hearing hire senior people as early as you can, and lean on them to take the company to the next level. And I'm hearing like get things out quickly and like just iterate. So get out something and iterate on it, and then from there you will get the traction in order to get more resources onto those projects. So yeah,
I mean,
super
why I say
interesting
that is
to
I have
learn from your
seen
experience.
teams. I have seen teams where they have a product ready and they have some customer traction coming in, but then they will halt their sales processes or their business development process because they don't have the process to support those customers. Right? I mean, in one way it could be good, but I don't subscribe to that strategy. I am like, if I am starting to get customers, I will just go out, start getting the customers. Initially, there'll be some compromises in the quality or support and all that, but you pile that support on the go, you hustle through, and then it's always a transition period of few months where you might have to toil really hard to provide good quality support, but that will come. Don't halt your speed in terms of getting the customers. I've seen so many teams which started getting some traction, but then they thought that, okay, no, we are not able to give the best quality service, and then they halted their sales process. And in the meanwhile, somebody else came in and scooped their customer segment. So that is my learning,
Right.
and it might not be
Right.
applicable or acceptable to everyone, but that's my approach.
Right. And how do you measure success in the company? So are there any kind of metrics or KPIs or indicators that tell you this is where I want Polygon to go, and this is what success looks like?
Yeah, so I think like it also it varies from the phase of a company, from what phase the company in, or a protocol or a startup is. It varies from phase to phase. So let's say on the phase one, getting customers is the only and only metrics for you. Like, are you able to get customers? That means whether you have a product market fit or not. For me, again, like some people might not agree with me. Then once you move from this first phase, 0 to 1 phase, into a 1 to 10 phase, then your success will be should be measured in how many leaders you have in your team. Have you built a team which has enough amount of leaders who can take the company from 10 to 100, right? And then once you grow into that 10 to 100 phase and you have built the leadership teams around properly, then you will be able to scale. Still there will be problems and there will be hassles, but at least you will be slightly better prepared. Once you go to 100, beyond that, it's only about culture. Like, what kind of culture, because then you become like a self-propelling machine, and only thing that will make sure that all these people in your team, which actually are some parts of the machine somewhere, are moving well with each other. It will be defined with the culture. But again, like I also see a lot of teams in the stage 1 or stage 2, like 0 to 1 or 1 to 10 phase, focusing too much on culture and like reading a lot of books and all that. At times I find a lot of that as hogwash. Like when you are like less than 50 people old, like your culture is basically how your founders are as human beings. Like there is no way you can set up a different kind of culture. Once you go from, let's say, 100 people onwards, then slightly the culture starts playing some role. but let's say once you are beyond, let's say 200 people, then definitely culture has to be important, and you should also look at it in a transient phases, yeah, I mean, put more and more focus as you go from 1 to 10 to 10 to 100, and then beyond 100, culture is the only thing that's going to carry you.
And what are those cultural values? If you had to say to someone who's joining Polygon, what are the cultural values that you would want them to embody?
For me, I want to say that for Polygon, two, three things are important. Like in crypto space, it's very easy to, because there is so much of money flying around and all that, so many investments, tokens coming in, you getting offers because you are in Polygon, people want you as investor and whatnot, right? So integrity is the one most key important, one of the most cultural value I want to see in my team. And second, that's on the, basically that's basically the existence, basically, the basic sanity for existence in Polygon team, which I try to see now. Second thing is then once you have ample amount of integrity, second thing I feel is that's important for us is humility and servitude, right? So I believe that we are doing the I mean, we can think of these layer 2, layer 1 adoption kind of localized games, but I think the infinite game is, in this scenario, is that we are basically allowing the humanity to claim its freedom, right? Freedom from institutions, which we ourselves created, like it's our own prison in a way. And humanity's freedom from institutions, and that's what crypto enables. And we are basically doing, apart from building the infrastructure, it's our job to basically provide the service to ample amount of developers who can enable the end users to achieve that freedom. So humility and servitude towards our community, towards our builder, is the second most important cultural fabric I would want to inculcate in our team. And I'm now more and more trying to make sure that happens. We don't want to come across to, as my team members also, as some because now we have become big, like we are top 15 project and all that. It should not be like somebody from our team is going and talking rash, or not talking impolitely with even, let's say, a 1% team or a hackathon participant. I don't want that. I want them to, anybody who's looking to build on Polygon, to give them like a 7-star concierge service, because our job is to enable them to build on Polygon. So that's my goal.
Yeah, so I think that's really important point. I think you said about integrity, but also keeping that same level of serving the community as you scale. I think that's very challenging, but I think that's something that Polygon has done a really good job at. And speaking about community, how do you think about community, and how did Polygon go about building the community, and what do you think are some of the keys to success? Because I know that Polygon has such a thriving community, both in terms of developers and end users. So how did you do this?
So I think, I mean, definitely there has to be a need in the market. I think when we were there in the market, like Ethereum was definitely having scaling issues. So there was definitely a need for a platform to become, or to provide low gas fees, higher throughput and things like that. But apart from that, I think people also or developers also needed a production ready environment, because Ethereum, even though it's costly, it's a very stable environment, right? So production readiness in our tech products, providing tooling to the developers when they are building something was also very important. So those were the things, like basics we had to set right. And after that, like, I think it was purely like the team's motivation. As I said, that our vision was very clear, and initially when that point in time we were like 50, 60 people or under 100, right? So the DNA of the founders becomes the DNA of the team. And I think from my side also, I mean, I used to make sure that anybody, even if it's a big company or a small startup or a hackathon project, if they are building on Polygon, they are getting as much support possible from us. And I think that itself became like a kind of a positive flywheel eventually, right? So team's culture grew in that regard. And then beyond that, it was like the community started also building around those things. So our community also helped each other and things like that. So that's how I think it was built. And with our larger, like, token holder community and all that, I think that trust is important. And initially, like, it takes time for the markets to have that trust on you. And even when, like, we had a very catastrophic token movement back in 2020 or 2019 actually, which actually took out a lot of trust from the traders, because some big whales in the market, like, did crazy movements up and down and all that. And which kind of created a problems for us in creating that trust. But throughout the next 2 years, we always kept the interests of community in front of us. Like, we founders still own 85-90% of our tokens at this 20 billion valuation, or 15 to 20 billion valuation. Generally, you don't see so many protocol founders doing that. And generally, we have also kept our unlocks longer than expected. So even now, right now, we are 6 months behind one unlock which we were supposed to get in October, right? And we have not even claimed that. So I think eventually community starts seeing that these guys are not here to do some short term this thing. So I think with now that has become quite a big phenomenon. And Polygon community itself has become like a big phenomenon itself. Like, I think we are now one of the most powerful communities in the space. Maybe after Bitcoin, Ethereum, and one or two more projects like Solana or something like that, or maybe equivalent to these projects.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I don't know if you noticed this, but you keep coming to this focus on just giving customers the best experience and giving them that 7-star experience. And this is actually something I've seen in a lot of the best founders, is that they're just laser focused on one thing. And I really see that in you. It's super interesting. Okay, so moving on then, can you talk a little bit about what it's like to run a decentralized company, and how that what kind of unique challenges that poses, and how that experience has been for you?
Actually, the experience is very good, because in a decentralized company, everybody, or a protocol, everybody is an owner of the protocol, right? So all these senior people who have decent allocations or exposures into the tokens, they are basically co-founders or entrepreneurs in their own small division, right? So for example, multiple products that we are building, Hermes, Zero, Maiden, these teams like Polygon, SDK, these teams are highly independent and autonomous teams. Like, we don't interfere that much in their roadmap and all that. And they are also, like, their structure, incentive structures and all that are built, which are focused on delivery and adoption, right? Because adoption is the key for us. So that's why, like, overall experience is good. I don't see any kind of bad experiences over there. I mean, compared to any normal startup. in the decentralized world, although hiring is difficult, but I think with this current wave that we had all through 2021 and some part of 2020, it attracted a large number of Web 2 and traditional world founders and talent into this, so which is slightly getting resolved. But apart from like the talent related issues, I think everybody is now anyways very comfortable with remote, so it's not very different. I would say overall it has been rather enjoyable in compared to, let's say, there is a company which has a central control and everybody has to work on that. And also I feel that in Web3 the synergies between projects can be extremely high, because you have a platform which is there, and then when the apps build on top of the platform, then their success becomes the platform success, and similarly platform success, when platform starts getting a lot of network effects, it becomes app success also. So in that way, like the synergetic or symbiotic relationships I see are extremely high in number, like compared to, let's say, the Web 2 startups, where the value lies in you accruing all the data, all the proprietary kind of stuff. Here value accrues if you distribute more value to other people. So that's why, like in Web3, striking partnerships and working together with other projects is highly rewarding as well as enjoyable, because many of the times, like orders of magnitude higher than, let's say, working in Web 2 or traditional businesses. You can have symbiotic relationships with your customers, with your third party providers, ancillary business providers, and things like that.
Do you think that all companies will be decentralized in the future? And can you also provide some examples of types of companies you think will be, and if there are companies that you think are not suitable, what kind of companies do you think will not be suitable to be decentralized?
I think that in my mind, I think most of the companies should be decentralizable. Only those companies where you have very specific, let's say, proprietary data or algorithm related things, they might find difficult. But I think eventually, right now we are in a still very early stage of Web3, right? We are just trying to decentralize the transaction related data. But we eventually we will have decentralized hosting, decentralized databases, decentralized storage, which will result in completely decentralized businesses. So I would say that a large number of businesses would be very soon decentralizable. In the long enough time frame, if you ask me, I feel that probably 95% of all the businesses in the world should be decentralizable. But in a long-term time frame, where, let's say, the currency is also crypto or blockchain based, like the default currency which you use for your businesses and all that, and every transaction is happening on smart contracts, like not in this transitory phase where, let's say, you can have a business which can have 50% of their or larger number of transactions off chain, and then only few transactions on chain. So it's hard to fully decentralize some of the business models over there. But in the longer enough frame, I think most of the businesses should be decentralizable. Currently, I think because we are only decentralizing the transactions as of now and some part of the storage, I think some of these, apart from DeFi, decentralized finance is obviously the biggest use case, and then NFTs is becoming bigger. Gaming NFT should be a very big this thing, but then after that, like social tokens and creator economies should be very big, and then DAOs. I'm super bullish on DAOs exploding sometime in near future.
Yeah, same here. And what about the Indian Web3 ecosystem? I know that Polygon is now a really global company, and even you yourself are becoming more of a global citizen. But obviously, a lot of your origins started in India. So how do you see the Indian ecosystem, and how do you see the challenges for mainstream adoption of crypto in India?
Um, I think in India specifically, because we have a large background of or a long-standing history of this, off the books, cash-related economy and black markets and all that, and only in the last 10 to 15 years the government have been able to bring some things to the book. I think they will remain skeptical of crypto because the moment you introduce crypto, suddenly all your existing systems go for a toss, and it's completely subverts all these existing systems and processes that we have in place. So I feel that that's going to be one of the biggest challenges in India in the short term. But in the mid to long term, I feel that crypto is something that is inevitable, right? It's like you cannot. It's like a unstoppable force. It's going to happen. Like so, the sooner some of the countries, especially the smaller countries, will realize it faster, and they will start making massive changes around their governance. I think crypto disrupts the governments completely, and government have to come into us. Kind of it has to be like a government as a service, GaaS, like instead of SaaS you have gas, like government as a service. And government has to go into the service mode instead of like this supreme power which kind of collects the taxation and then in an institutional non-transparent way distributes it and uses it into building things. Instead of that, it will subvert, like government will be one of the service providers in the in the modern world, which is completely crypto. And they get incentivized or paid on the work they do. And they will not be like the bigger businesses of government is controlling currency, building infrastructure, and providing the security. I think only the security part is not solved yet, which is apart from that, the building the infrastructure and controlling currencies, that crypto and crypto related business models can easily solve. But the third job of the government, which is like providing security, law and order basically, is the crypto doesn't have answer to that. So how that will be solved, it's kind of a very high flying sci-fi thing. But let's say you have AI which comes in, and somehow you are able to code the average human being, like protection and safety logic into that, which is governed by, let's say, the people of that particular area of operation, residence, or whatever. Then it will be able to fully disrupt the government. But I think the apart from the 2-3 major tasks that governments have to solve, I think it already, apart from the currency, infrastructure, and this thing, it solves. Only the security, law and order, is a remaining puzzle. If that gets solved, then governments, might be a thing of past, and communities can run themselves completely.
Super interesting. Actually, you're reminding me a little bit of a book I read called The Self-Sovereign Individual, where because everyone is kind of earning their living online through digital economies, then governments have to become a lot more competitive about providing a jurisdiction in which people actually want to live. So super interesting. So Sandeep, just to wrap up, final question: what do you see as the future for Polygon, and just paint us a little vision of your paint us your vision for the future, basically.
So, we believe that Polygon has the ultimate potential to, be the transaction layer of blockchains, like, where Ethereum becomes the settlement layer and Polygon emerges as the transaction layer of Web3. And our goal is to be able to provide this multi-chain environment, which is able to bring internet level scale to blockchains, and probably in a short to mid term, if we are able to, like, our goal is to be able to create the infrastructure which kind of brings in, which kind of allows 50 to 100 million daily active users on Web3 applications. I think currently the scale that we have, I think we have 3 or 4 million daily active users in all the Web3, like including Bitcoin users, including Ethereum, including games and all that. Everything is like probably 3 million daily average users, and we have the scalability to probably support around 10 million daily active users with all the chains, everything if you include. And I think that that the infrastructure that we are building, we should be able to take it to 50 to 100 million daily active users, at least provide the infrastructure, and then the apps can come, which can bring in those users. And then in the longer term, like by 2025 or beyond, we want to be able to provide the infrastructure which can concurrently, let's say, support billion users, and that would need multiple layer 2 chains, multiple layer 3 sovereign protocol, sovereign businesses running on sovereign rollups at layer 3 at massive scale, settling few things into the layer 2, and layer 2 finally settling everything into the Ethereum. So yeah, it's going to be a long journey, but yeah, I mean, the goal is to reach a place where if the applications needed, it could support even a billion DAU.
Super exciting. I hope we can look back on this conversation in a few years, and that's all going to be true, and we're going to look back on this like a happy memory. Okay, Sandeep, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences, sharing your wisdom, and yeah, let's wrap it up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sami. Thank you so much.